The enmity between elves and dwarves from The Lord of the Rings is implicitly explained by Durin III when he explains how dwarfs were created in the Rings of Power Episode 7. It's no secret that elves and dwarves in Middle-earth have a hostile relationship. Although each race tended to remain out of the other's business, encounters between elves and dwarves were almost always fraught with conflict and hostility, as was initially the case with Legolas and Gimli in The Lord of the Rings. The Rings of Power's portrayal of the cooperative connection between Moria and Eregion is a rare exception to that rule. Durin III tells his son the tale of how the Vala known as All created the dwarf race out of stone and fire in the Rings of Power Episode 7. Moria's king explains the history of the conflict between elves and dwarves while also attempting to teach his son a lesson. The only thing that can create life is Eru Ilúvatar, the mythological figure created by J.R.R. All disobeyed this law by creating the dwarves, but Eru felt pity as the disobedient Vala prepared to throw his sturdy stone people into the trash. After accepting All's unapproved side project, Eru granted the dwarves sentience and enabled them to live. But Eru had a requirement. He contended that because dwarves were not legitimate children of Ilúvatar, they should sleep until the elves awoke. There will frequently be conflict between thine and mine, Eru further ruled. The turbulent relationship between the elf and dwarf was created at this point. All's children would always be seen negatively by elves, while dwarves would view elves negatively and develop an unshakable pride of their own in return. All was unsure of how his father's creations of elves and men would end out, which is why Middle Dwarves' Earths have the appearance they have. Therefore, the dwarves were essentially fashioned after their most ferocious competitors. Despite the fact that interracial conflict in Middle-earth was inevitable given how elves and dwarves were individually created, significant occurrences fueled their animosity. The vast majority occurred in J.R.R. Tolkien's First Age, which is before the Rings of Power ever began. Because their relations with elves had not yet soured and Finrod was not particularly fond of elf rulers, the dwarves created the Noglamir necklace for Galadriel's brother Finrod. The Noglamir finally made its way to King Thingol of Doriath after Finrod's realm was overthrown, who asked the dwarves to add a priceless blazing silmaril to its collection of jewels. The dwarves concurred, but like countless others before them, they were enthralled by their magnificent invention and insisted on keeping it. Thingol responded with a stinging rebuke, leading to several bloody battles and deaths on both sides. The dwarves present at the time weren't entirely truthful about how the Noglamir incident played out either, stoking further hatred from their kin. Before their disagreement with Thingol, elves and dwarves got along just fine, but their quarrel over the Noglamir signaled the start of decades marked by distress, fulfilling the prophecy Eru made when All first revealed his hidden creations. In Middle-earth, these two species rarely work together, such as Moria and Eregion in the Rings of Power, Legolas and Gimli in The Lord of the Rings, and so on. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to comment, subscribe and give us a like.